What's going on, everyone? Coach Aaron here, back in with another video to help you dominate the platform. Today we're going to go over how you can create time so you can achieve those powerlifting goals of yours. So let's get right to it. Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in to another video. If you don't know who I am and you are new to this channel, my name is Venmo Khamesi and I am a powerlifting athlete, coach, meet director, and referee. And I put videos out here on this channel to help those groups of people with whatever knowledge I can provide. Today we're going to go over this idea that I hear in powerlifting and probably in other sports in the world of fitness as well, about that people just don't have enough time to commit to the sport or whatever their goal is. So aside from the competing, they also have to do the training for it. They might have to do prehab, rehab work, foam rolling, all that kind of stuff. Then they have to go home and shower and cook and clean and eat, all that kind of stuff. And just too many hours that add up that they say they don't have enough time to commit to it. So what we're going to go over today is called a time audit. Just like companies may get audited for their financials, or even a company might do like a inventory once a year or quarterly of what they have in stock and see if there's anything missing or anything like that, or what adjustments they need to make, what things they need to order. We can do an audit of our own time and see what things are we actually spending time on, how much time are we spending on those things, and then from there we can maybe make adjustments to our time to be able to have more time to use for other things that we want. For example, if we want to spend it in powerlifting. All right, so this could be important for powerlifting, but just the idea of fitness and being healthy, it is very important, as we've seen right now with the coronavirus, that the people that are not as healthy and have different health issues can be more affected by it. So now more than ever, it might be more important to be healthy. And so even if you're not completely focused on just the powerlifting aspect of competing in a competition and performing well, just the practice of lifting weights, getting your muscle mass up, getting your body fat down, checking your blood pressure, cholesterol, making sure all those things are in check, having some level of cardiovascular fitness, making sure you're eating well, sleeping well, staying hydrated, all that kind of stuff can be very important. So we want to put that pretty high up on the tasks that we do on a daily or weekly basis. Some of those things also that I mentioned, like sleep and eating and water and everything like that, are basically what you can consider non-negotiables, or they are basically mandatory for us to live. So when you do this time audit, which we'll go through the process right now, is you may want to group these things into things that are mandatory or non-negotiable, and then things that are more discretionary or free time, where you can always adjust it based on what you enjoy doing. As I said, this idea of a time audit is taken basically from auditing companies' financials. And so the concept is that time is also money. Not only is time money, but it's also a non-renewable resource. So you only have a limited amount of time. You don't know how much time exactly that is, but you know that it is dwindling slowly, and at one point you're not going to have any more left. So the same concept can be applied into a weekly or daily view when we do this time audit, is that you only have a limited number of time. In this case, we know exactly how much time you have in a day or in a week, and you can only spend that time or money on a certain amount of task or time per task. And when you do this at home, you can do this in a number of ways. A couple of them that I mentioned is that you could take an average week, okay, and then try and take these tasks and say, how much time do you spend in an entire week rather than just a day? So you can take, for example, driving to work and say, okay, on an average week, I spend this much time driving to work. Or you can then break it down into each specific day if you feel like there's a lot of variability and maybe you only want to make adjustments once you do the audit to specific days, then you can only do it on a day basis. Or you can do something in between where maybe you do weekdays, you do an average weekday, and then you do weekends. So you do an average weekend day. The reason being, for most of us, we work a regular schedule, like a Monday through Friday, and then the Saturday and Sunday you're not working. So your schedule on Monday through Friday might be quite different than the weekend, because you do have to go to work and the driving time and all that kind of stuff. And on the weekend you don't have to work, so you have a lot more free time. So then you can break it into those two groups and look at what an average day is on a work day and what an average day is when you don't have a work day. All right, so let's go with a week for this example. So we'll take a full week and we'll see on average, what are we doing in a week for all these different tasks. And one of the first things you want to look at is your sleep, okay? So since sleep is one of the most important things, and it's fairly easy to track these days because you kind of have an idea of when you go to sleep and when you wake up, or you can use something like your phone or a watch or a ring or something like that that will help track your sleep hours for you and get you that weekly average. So then you can see how many hours on average are you sleeping in a day, And then you obviously subtract that from 24, and then that's when you have your time that you're awake. And when you're awake, those are when you can do all the tasks that we're gonna go through right now. Next, what you wanna do is start coming up with all these tasks. So you could just go and just do a brain dump and make an entire list of all the tasks that you do. So it could be showering, driving to work, working, eating, social media, video games, movies, TVs, all that kinds of stuff. And what you can do is break it into either 1 hour chunks or 30-minute chunks, or a combination. If you feel like there are some things that maybe only break into 30 minutes per day. So for example, let's say personal hygiene, if you're just taking like showering and brushing your teeth and going to the bathroom, that may only come out to 30 minutes per day over the course of a week. So then you can just put a 30-minute chunk and just call it personal hygiene. Versus something like driving to work, it may be 1 hour drive there and 1 hour drive back. So then you can do a 1 hour chunk for driving to work and a 1 hour chunk for driving back from work. All right, and you can build this audit on however you want. If you want to do it on a whiteboard, you can just write out all your tasks on a whiteboard and then put the average time for each one. If you want to do it like written, you can just take maybe post-it notes and color code it. So maybe yellow post-it notes can be 1 hour slots and blue post-it notes will be 30-minute slots. And on each post-it note, you write the different tasks. Or if you want to take it to the computer, you can go on Excel or Sheets or something like that and make each cell a task. And then next to that, in the cell next to it, you put down how much time you're spending on there. And that way you can easily adjust it as well on the computer, because as you're going through this process, you may change your mind on like, oh, I forgot this task, or no, actually this task doesn't take as long as I thought it did. And so you may be making adjustments. So something on Excel or Sheets, or even just like a notepad on the computer, then you can easily adjust this as you're doing your audit. Another helpful tool is to use your phone. So when it comes to using our phone, it does track everything on there. So for example, if you have the iPhone, you just swipe to the right and you get your screen time. And so you can click on that screen time. And from there, you can choose whether you want to look at a per day basis or a per week basis. So right now it's on per week. And you can also choose whether you want to look at this week or the previous week, or maybe a couple weeks beforehand. And so you can go and think about, okay, what was an average day that I remember? What was an average week that I remember? And let me go look at the stats for that specific day or week. So let's just go through mine, for example. If we look at my last week's average, the first thing it'll tell me was actually 6% up from the previous week. So then I might look at that and say, okay, maybe last week wasn't an average week and maybe I have to go look at a different week. But for now, we'll just continue with the last week's numbers. So then it gives you a breakdown. Here it tells me about 28 hours for social media, and then 5 hours for productivity, about 3 hours for games. The total screen time was about 48 hours. And then it also breaks down into each app for me. So it tells me my number one app is Instagram, about 18 hours a week last week that I spent on Instagram. Then I got 5.5 hours for Facebook Messenger, 3 hours for Mario Kart, about 3 hours for Webull, which is a stock trading app, about 3 hours for Facebook, 1.5 hours for Safari, 1.5 hours for messages, 1.5 hours for YouTube. And so then I can take these numbers and I can break them into those tasks. Like if I just want to have a social media task, or if some of this stuff is your business, like for example, Instagram, some of the posts that I make and interactions I do are talking to my clients or posting for advertising for my business. So I can try and separate that out and say, okay, maybe I'm spending an hour a day of Instagram for my business, and then I'm spending maybe an hour of the day on Instagram for personal. So then I can break that into social media and to like business marketing or something like that. Then you can use your phone as a guide to help you with some of these things like the social media, or if you're doing online business work, if you do have a step tracker or something like that with your phone, you can see how many steps you're taking or how much exercising you're doing. Like I said, also you can use it as a tracker for your sleep, so you can track how much you're doing for your sleep to help you get some better estimates or more accurate numbers for these tasks. And sometimes people will overestimate some tasks and underestimate some tasks. So you want to try and be as accurate as possible and as honest with yourself as possible. For example, when I saw this number that I'm spending 18 hours a week on Instagram, I was kind of shocked that it was actually that much. I was expecting it to be lower, like maybe an hour a day. So obviously I'm spending a lot more time on there than I would have guessed. So quick review, the audit portion we're gonna go through is you can either do it on your computer if you wanna do it digitally, or you can just do it on paper. You can use post-it notes, whatever you want. And then you can decide whether you wanna do it as an average week, if you want to do it as an average day, or something in between that where you're going to do one average work day and one average non-work day. So it just depends on how variable your days are to see how accurate you want to be with this audit. The first thing you want to do is cut out the sleep portion, okay? So whatever time you sleep, let's say 8 hours, you take that out, and then you start looking at the 16 hours you have, and you start delegating the tasks that you normally do during those 16 hours. So then you can break it up into groups if you want. So you can have like a group for work, you can have a group for personal hygiene, you can have a group for entertainment, you can have a group for further learning, and then in those groups then you can break down into individual tasks. So under work you can put the driving to work, you can have the time spent at work, you can have the drive back from work. If you have to do any work at home, you can throw that in there. Under personal hygiene, if you want, you can break it up into showering, laundry, brushing your teeth, that kinds of stuff. For entertainment, you can also break it up into your gym time, movies, video games, TV, all that kind of stuff. And further learning, you can break it up into whether you're reading books or maybe you're taking some kind of online course or anything like that. Maybe you are still in school, you can break it up into your studying time, all that kinds of stuff. All right, once we did the audit, now we can step back and we can look at the audit. First thing you might want to look at is add up the time for those tasks and see if it actually adds up to the amount of time you are awake. So in the example we went over, we said we were going to sleep 8 hours and then we have 16 hours for tasks. So add up those tasks and see if it actually adds up to 16 hours. If it adds up to something more like 18 or 20 hours, then maybe you are estimating some of these things wrong. And same thing on the other side. Maybe you only have your tasks add up to 12 hours and then maybe you're underestimating the time you're spending on like social media. Like for example, I was with Instagram. So then maybe you need to adjust these numbers for these tasks. All right, now we have our audit and it is accurate of how much time we're sleeping and how much time we're doing tasks, and our tasks are honest with ourselves of what we're actually doing and the amount of time we're spending doing it. So the next thing we want to do is, well, what is our goal? All right, what are we trying to achieve that we said earlier we're not able to achieve it because we just don't have enough time? With any goals, you want to make sure you're specific, measurable, realistic, all that kind of stuff with it. So don't just say, oh, I want to lose weight, or oh, I want to get stronger. So it could be something like, okay, I'm currently weighing 200 pounds and I want to weigh 190 pounds by the end of the year. So now we set a specific goal where we want to lose weight, and we went how much weight we want to lose and how much time we want it to take to lose that weight. So now that we set our goal, we have to think about how much effort, or in this case, how much time we need to invest in this goal in order to achieve it by that date. So end of the year, 10 pounds, we want to figure out, okay, in a week, how much time we need to invest in this. Or you can break it down first into per day. So you could say, I need to put about 30 minutes per day of cardio, or you can break it into the week and say I need to put 2 hours a week, broken up however throughout the days, into cardio in order to achieve this goal by this time. All right, so now we have to find a way to fit this 2 hour block, this new task, into what we've been doing with all these other tasks, which means since we don't have more time in a day or in a week, that we need to remove 2 hours of tasks from what we have there already. So now what happens is you did your audit, you picked what goal you want, the amount of time you need to invest in order to achieve that goal, and now we have to go and adjust what our schedule is. What do we need to drop off? What's not as important to us anymore in order to put this goal in there, which is more important to us. And the same way that you did it in 1 hour chunks and 30-minute chunks, you can also just remove things in 1 hour chunks and 30-minute chunks. So it doesn't need to be removing 2 hours from one single task or 1 hour from two single tasks. You could remove 30 minutes here, an hour here, and 30 minutes there, and then put this 2 hour goal in there. What happens for a lot of people is they kind of step back and they look and they say, okay, this goal is pretty important for me, and there's a few things here that I could do without. They're not important. So you might realize, okay, I'm wasting like an hour playing video games and who cares about that? So you drop that off. Or you're like, well, maybe I'm spending 30 minutes more time than I need to on social media, just screwing around, scrolling, checking out hashtags. It's not for my business, so let me take out 30 minutes of social media. And then you may look at something else like, okay, I'm watching 3 hours of the news every single day and it's just repetitive. They're just saying the same stuff over and over again after the first hour, or maybe even after the first 2 hours, and I don't really need to look at it that much. I can drop off 30 minutes off of my TV time where I'm watching the news. So now you can say, okay, I'm gonna take away the 30 minutes of TV, I'm gonna take the 30 minutes away from social media, I'm gonna take the 1 hour away from video games, and now I'm be able to put this 2 hours of cardiovascular training into the week in order to achieve my goal of going from 200 pounds down to 190 pounds by the end of the year. All right, and you can do this time audit for whatever you want. If you need to increase your sleep, for example, the average person might need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So when you do that first step and set how much time you sleep, you may want to look at that and say, okay, if I am only sleeping 4 hours per day, then I need to find ways to adjust these tasks to improve the sleep and bring it maybe up to 6 hours, and then slowly over time bring it up to 7 or 8 hours. And if you don't happen to be on the other end, you're sleeping like 10 hours a day or 11 hours a day, then maybe instead of dropping it off from other tasks like social media or video games, maybe you just drop an hour off of sleep, you wake up an hour earlier, and you spend that time doing the cardiovascular training in order to bring your body weight down. All right, so you can do this for whatever your goal is, whatever your tasks are, whatever you're trying to do in life. I'm just putting this in the case of powerlifting, since this is a powerlifting channel. For example, if you're having trouble hitting 4 training sessions a week, you'll only be able to do 3, you're always missing that 4th session, you're like, hey, I don't have enough time to go in the gym and do a 60-minute or 90-minute training session for that 4th session, then you can do this audit, see how your average day or average week looks like, and then be like, okay, is playing guitar, or is being on Instagram, or is watching Netflix, or is talking to friends on Facebook more important to me than doing this 4th training session a week, which will help me achieve my goal of, let's say I want to put 10 pounds on my squat, 5 pounds on my bench press, and 15 pounds on my deadlift by the end of the year. Then again, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to say, do I really want this goal, and how do I rank it? You can rank it, let's say out of 10, and say, okay, it would be nice if I got 10 pounds on my squat, but it's not that important to me. It's 5 out of 10. I'd rather just relax and like hang out with my friends, talk to them on Facebook, play video games, that kind of stuff. Or you might say, no, I'm dedicated to this. I want to finish off the year strong. This is a 10 out of 10 importance to me. And when you do that and really tell yourself that it is a 10 out of 10 and that is something you really do want to achieve, then it's kind of easier to drop off that stuff. Next time you're about to go grab the phone, or you're gonna go grab the remote controller for whatever video game you're playing, you're like, nah, I have to go do that 4th training session, so I need to get off of my butt and I need to go to the gym and get that training in so that I can then achieve my goal that I set out for myself. All right, so next time you have some free time, maybe this weekend, go ahead and do a time audit on yourself, or you can do it with a significant other or a friend. If you're just hanging out, you can go take an average day or an average week and figure out all the tasks you do and how much time you spend doing them. Then you can go say, what is my goal that I want to achieve? And how much time do I need to invest in that goal on that daily or weekly basis in order to achieve it? Then you look at what you have that you currently do and what you're trying to do and figure out, what do I need to take out to fit this in there? What is this goal, this task more important than the task that I'm already doing? And probably there's something in there that you are wasting your time on, or just not as valuable. As we said, time is money and you only have a limited amount of time. So if you're really wasting your time on this other nonsense that you feel is no longer important, then it should be easier to take some of these things out or cut them down to a reasonable level where you still get enjoyment out of it, but you're just not dumping all your time into it, and then putting this new task in there to achieve the goal that you want. All right, as always, do that YouTube stuff, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you have a friend that is talking about they don't have enough time for powerlifting or to achieve their goals in powerlifting, then you can send this video over to them, and that will help them out in doing this time audit to figure out how they can find more time for powerlifting. If you want to learn more, I do have lots of playlists. I have a powerlifting tips playlist. I'll put the card for it above, and you can always go and watch other helpful videos that I have. And if you have any questions about the time audit, or if you have any ideas for future videos you think I should make, you can always comment those below. I respond to all my comments. But other than that, I hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you next time.